Hi children, how are you? I hope that all are fine. Today we are going to learn a new chapter from the textbook of Geography. Chapter 6. The name of the chapter is Major Landforms of the Earth. Major Landforms of the Earth. Chapter 6. Major Landforms of the Earth. What is meant by landforms? Natural features of the Earth's surface is known as landforms. Natural features of the Earth's surface is known as landforms. And already we know that the surface of the Earth is not the same everywhere. The surface of the Earth is not the same everywhere. And the Earth has varied in landforms, and the Earth has variety of landforms. The Earth has variety of landforms, and these landforms are a result of two processes. These landforms are a result of two processes, and within the Earth a continuous movement is taking place. So within the Earth a continuous movement is taking place. These are internal process and external process. So the landforms are a result of two processes, which are the internal process and external process. So what is meant by internal process? Internal process are those processes which generate in the interior of the Earth. So internal process are those processes which generate in the interior of the Earth, while the external process are originate in the atmosphere or on the surface of the Earth. External process originate in the atmosphere or on the surface of the Earth, while internal process are those processes which generate in the interior of the Earth. So these two processes, internal process and external process, actually resulting the different landforms. These landforms are the result of these two processes. And the internal process leads to the upliftment and sinking of the Earth's surface at several places. So the internal process leads to the upliftment. Upliftment means lift up. Okay, to lift up, raise. To lift up, raise. And sinking. Sinking means go down below the surface of something. Go down below in the surface of something. Go down below the surface of something is known as sinking. So the internal process leads to the upliftment and sinking of the Earth's surface at several places. So the second process, that is external process. This originates in the atmosphere or on the surface of the Earth. So the external process is the continuous wearing down and rebuilding of the land surface. So it is the process originate in the atmosphere or on the surface of the Earth. So the second or the external process is the continuous wearing down. Wearing down means gradually disappear. Wearing down means gradually disappear. And a rebuilding of the land surface. Two processes, wearing down and rebuilding. Wearing down and rebuilding. Disappear and appear. Okay. So the wearing away of the Earth's surface is called erosion. So what is meant by erosion? The wearing away of the Earth's surface. The gradually disappearing the Earth's surface is known as erosion. The wearing away of the Earth's surface is called erosion. And the surface is being lowered by the process of erosion and rebuilt by the process of deposition. And because of the erosion, the Earth surface is lowered. Okay, the Earth surface is being lowered by the process of erosion and rebuilt by the process of deposition. Erosion and deposition. These are the two processes of the including in the external process. External process. Then these two processes are carried out by running water, ice and wind. So which are the agents of erosion and deposition? So which are the agents of erosion and deposition? Running water, ice and wind. Running water, ice and wind are the major agents of the deposition and erosion. Then broadly we can group different landforms depending on elevation and slope. Elevation and slope. What is meant by elevation? Height. So based on the height and slope, there are mainly three landforms, which are the mountains, plateaus and plains. So based on the elevation and slope, based on the height and slope, there are mainly three landforms, which are the mountains, plateaus and plains. So mountains. So a mountain is any natural elevation of the earth surface. A mountain is any natural elevation of the earth surface. So the mountains may have a small summit and a broad base. The mountains may have a small summit. Summit means the highest point of a hill or mountain. So the highest point of a hill or mountain is known as summit. So the mountains may have a small summit and a broad base. It is considerably higher than the surrounding area. So the mountains considerably higher than the surrounding areas. So some mountains are even higher than the clouds. Some areas or some mountains are even higher than the clouds. So as you go higher, the climate becomes colder. So when we go higher, the climate becomes more cool. So that's why our area, our high range areas experience more cool than the other areas. Then in some mountains, there are permanently frozen rivers of ice. So in some mountains, there are permanently frozen rivers of ice. They are called glaciers. So what is meant by a glacier? Large mass of the ice which moves very slowly is known as glacier. Large mass of ice which moves very slowly is known as glaciers. So permanently frozen rivers of ice, they are called glaciers. So there are some mountains that are under the sea. So there are some mountains that are under the sea. For example, Mauna Kea. So Mauna Kea, and that is in the Pacific Ocean. And it is one undersea mountain. So it is one undersea mountain. What is the name of that sea? That mountain? Mauna Kea. So Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea in the Pacific Ocean is the undersea mountain. And it is higher than Mount Everest, being 10,205 meter high. So this Mauna Kea have the height of 10,205. So how much is the height of the Mount Everest? That already you studied. How much? 8,848.86 meter. So more than that 10,205 meter height is there for Mauna Kea. So some mountains are under the sea. And because of the harsh climate, less people live in the mountain areas. So because of the harsh climate, less people live in the mountain areas. So since the slopes are steep, less land is available for farming. So why are mountains thinly populated? Why are mountains thinly populated? Very less population we can see in mountains. Why? Because mountains are thinly populated because harsh climate. The climate is harsh and less land available for farming. So here less land available for farming. Then very few employment opportunities. Very less employment opportunities. Then less developed means of transport. Less developed means of transport. Then undulating topography. Undulating topography. Undulating means moving up and down like wave. Moving up and down like wave is known as undulating. So undulating topography. So these are the important reasons for mountains thinly populated. So mountains are thinly populated because of the following reasons. Which are they? First one, harsh climate, very hard climate. Then less land available for farming, very less land available for agriculture. Then very few employment opportunities, very less employment opportunities. Then less developed means of transport, less developed means of transport. Then undulating topography, moving up and down like waves. So moving up and down, fluctuations in the topography. So these are the important reasons mountains are thinly populated. So what are mountain range? So what are mountain range? Mountains arranged in a line are called range. So mountains arranged in a line, in a layer, they are called mountain range. So many mountain systems consist of a series of parallel ranges extending over hundreds of kilometers. For example, Himalaya, Alps and Andes. These are the examples of mountain range. So mountains arranged in a line are called range. Mountains arranged in a line are called range. Mountain range. Example, Himalaya. Himalaya is in Asia. Then Alps. Alps is in Europe. And Andes. Andes is in South America. And mountains vary in their heights and shape. So mountains vary in their heights and shape. So mountain arranged in a line are called range. Mountain range. Example, Himalaya, Alps and Andes. And there are three types of mountains. Mainly there are three types of mountains. Which are they? Fold mountains, block mountains and volcanic mountains. So which are the important three types of mountains? Fold mountains, block mountains and the volcanic mountains. So we can study one by one in detail. So there are three types of mountains. Which are they? Fold mountains, block mountains and volcanic mountains. So mountains formed of folding process of the strata are called fold mountains. So mountains formed of folding process of the strata. Strata means layer. Strata means layer. So mountains formed of folding process of the layer are called fold mountains. For example, the Himalayas and the Alps are young fold mountains. Himalayas and the Alps are the young fold mountains. And what are the important features of these Himalayas and Alps? And they have rugged relief. They have rugged relief. Rugged means having a rough, uneven surface. Having a rough, uneven surface. Not smooth. Okay, not smooth or flat. So Himalayas and Alps have rugged relief. Not smooth and flat. Okay. Then they have a high conical hills. They have a high conical shape, cone shape, conical hills. So they have high conical hills. And another example of the fold mountain is Aravalli. Aravalli is in India. And they are old fold mountains. They are the example of old fold mountains. Aravalli is one example of old fold mountains. And they are considerably worn down by the process of erosion. So they formed by the process of erosion. Then Appalachians in North America and Urals in Russia have rounded features. So Appalachians in North America and Urals in Russia have rounded features. And they are low in elevation. They are low in elevation and they are very old fold mountains. They are very old fold mountains. So fold mountains means the mountains formed of folding process of the strata is called which one? Fold mountain. So mountains formed of folding process of the strata are called fold mountains. Then next, block mountains. So what is meant by block mountains? When large areas are broken and displaced vertically, block mountains are created. How block mountains are created? When large areas are broken. When large areas are broken and displaced vertically, block mountains are created. So the upliftment blocks are termed as horst. So the uplifted blocks are termed as horst and lowered blocks are named as graben and horst. So the uplifted blocks are termed as horst and the lowered blocks are named as graben. Okay, graben. Then the Rhine Valley and the Wedge mountain in Europe are the examples of such mountains, block mountains. So which are the examples of block mountains? The Rhine Valley and the Wedge mountains in Europe are the examples of block mountain. So when large areas are broken and displaced vertically, block mountains are created. And two parts are there for block mountains, the uplifted blocks and the lowered block. The uplifted blocks are known as horst and the lowered blocks are termed as graben. Then next is volcanic mountain. So third one is volcanic mountain. So volcanic mountains are formed due to the volcanic activity, volcanoes that already you studied in the science, volcano. So volcanic mountains are formed due to the volcanic activity. So Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa and Mount Fujiyama in Japan are the examples of the volcanic mountains. Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa and Mount Fujiyama in Japan are the examples of volcanic mountains. So there are mainly 3 mountains are there, which are the fold mountains, block mountains and volcanic mountains. Examples of fold mountains, which are the Himalaya, Alps, Aravalli, then Appalachians in North America. Then block mountains, example which one? Rail Valley and Wage Mountain in Europe. Then for volcanic mountains, the major examples are Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa and Fujiyama in Japan. So these are the important or different types of mountains. Next we are going to learn about how are mountains useful to man. Uses of mountains. How are mountains useful to man? First one, they are storehouses of water. The mountains are the storehouses of water. Storehouses of water. Then mountains provide water to rivers through glaciers which they have. Mountains provide water to rivers through glaciers which they have. And reservoirs are made and water is harnessed for the use of people. Reservoir. What is meant by reservoir? A large natural or artificial lake used as a source of water supply is known as reservoir. A large natural or artificial lake used as a source of water is known as reservoir. So reservoirs are made and water is harnessed. Harness means control and to make use of. Control and make use of for the use of the people. So reservoirs are made and water is harnessed for the use of people. Then water from mountain is used in irrigation. Water from mountain is used for irrigation. Irrigation means the supply of water to land or crops to help growth, typically by means of channels, is known as irrigation. Supply of water to the field. Supply of water to the land through channels is known as irrigation. Then it is also used in generation of hydroelectricity. It is also used in generation of hydroelectricity. Hydroelectricity means electricity made from the energy of running water. Electricity made from the energy of running water is known as hydroelectricity. So the mountains provide water to rivers through glaciers which they have. For example, reservoirs are made and water is harnessed for the use of people, and water from mountain is used for irrigation, and it is also used in generation of hydroelectricity. Then river valleys and river terraces are ideal for agriculture. River valleys and river terraces are ideal for agriculture. It is suitable for agriculture. Then mountains have rich variety of flora and fauna. Mountains are rich variety of flora and fauna. Flora means plant life, fauna means animal life. The variety of flora and fauna we can see in mountain region. Then forests provide fuel, fodder, shelter, and they provide several other products like gum, raisins, etc. Raisins means partially dried grape is known as raisins. So mountains have rich variety of flora and fauna. Then mountains provide idyllic sites for tourists. Mountains provide beautiful sites for tourists. Idyllic means beautiful. Beautiful sites for tourists. And they are important sites for several special games and sports like paracycling, hang gliding, river rafting and skiing. And these paragliding, hang gliding, river rafting and skiing and all these are recreational activities. So mountains are important sites for several recreational activities. So these are the important uses of the mountains. So next is plateaus. Plateaus. So a plateau is an elevated flat land. Plateau is an elevated flat land. Elevated means situated or placed higher than the surrounding area is known as elevated. higher or greater than normal. It is known as elevated. So a plateau is an elevated flat land. So it is a flat top tableland standing above the surrounding area. So plateaus is also known as tablelands. Plateaus are also known as tablelands. And a plateau may have one or more sides with the steep slopes. A plateau may have one or more sides with the steep valleys are there. Steep valleys are there in the sides of the plateaus. Then height varies from a few hundred meters to several thousand meters. The height of the plateaus vary from a few hundred meters to several thousand meters. Plateaus may be young or old. Plateaus may be young or may be old. For example, Deccan Plateau of India is one of the oldest plateaus of the world. So, Deccan Plateau in India is one of the oldest plateaus of the world. East African Plateau, it is in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. And another example, Western Plateau of Australia. These are the examples of plateaus. Which are the Deccan Plateau, East African Plateau, then Western Plateau of Australia. These are the examples of plateaus. The Tibetan Plateau is the highest plateau in the world with a height of 4,000 to 6,000 meter above the sea level. So the Tibetan Plateau, the Tibet Plateau is the highest plateau in the world. So how much is the height of the Tibetan Plateau? About 4,000 to 6,000 meter. Around 4,000 to 6,000 meter is the height of the Tibetan Plateau. This Tibet Plateau is the highest plateau in the world with a height of 4,000 to 6,000 meter above the sea level. Then, how are these plateaus useful to us? How are these plateaus useful to us? Usefulness of plateaus. First one, plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. Plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. Mineral and all you already studied in the science. Mineral. Plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. As a result, many of the mining areas in the world are located in the plateaus. So, plateaus are rich in mineral deposits. That's why many of the mining areas in the world are located in the plateau areas. For example, African Plateau. African Plateau is famous for gold and diamond. African Plateau is famous for gold and diamond. Then Chota Nagpur Plateau is in India. It is rich in iron ore, coal and manganese. Chota Nagpur Plateau in India is rich in iron ore, coal and manganese. Iron ore, coal, these are the mineral only. Okay, mineral only. Coal is one fossil fuel and manganese, iron ore, these are the minerals. So Chota Nagpur Plateau is in India and it is rich in which one? Iron ore, coal and minerals. Then plateaus have several waterfalls, ideal sites for generation of hydroelectricity. And plateaus have several waterfalls and this is useful for generating hydroelectricity. For example, Handru Falls in Chota Nagpur Plateau on river Subarnarekha. And Jog Falls in Karnataka. Jog Falls in Karnataka. These are the examples of plateaus and their waterfalls are there. It is useful for producing hydroelectricity. Then lava plateaus are rich in black soil that are fertile and good for cultivation. Some lava plateaus are there and these are rich in black soil and it is fertile for agriculture. Some plateaus are known for scenic spot and they are great attraction to tourists. Some plateaus are famous for sceneries and it attracted so many tourists. So these are the important usefulness of plateaus, important uses of plateaus. Next is plains. Next landform is plains. So plains are large stretches of flat land not higher than 200 meter from mean sea level. So plains are large stretches. Stretches means continuous area, longer and wider, continuous area. And it is flat land and not higher than 200 meter from the sea level. and some are extremely level. Some plains are extremely level and others are rolling and undulating, and some plains are rolling and undulating. And undulating means having a shape like a wave, up and down shape. So moving up and down like a wave, that shape is known as undulating. And rolling means cross slope, rising and falling in gentle slopes, it is known as rolling. So some are extremely level plains and some are rolling and undulating plains. And the major features of plains. Which are the major features of plains? First one, mostly formed by river deposits. Plains mostly formed by river deposits. Then plains are generally fertile. Fertile means capable of producing abundant crops or vegetation. Okay, capable of producing abundant crops or vegetation. That is known as fertile. So plains are generally fertile, suitable for agriculture. Fertile means suitable for agriculture. It is capable producing abundant of crops or vegetation. Then they are thickly populated, and already we saw that mountains are thinly populated, but the plains are thickly populated. More population are here. Then they have a dense network of roads and railways. Transport facilities are more here. They have a dense network of roads and railways. Then agriculture is the main occupation of the people. Agriculture is or farming is the main occupation of the people, those who live in plains. For example, Ganga, Indus, Brahmaputra plains in India. Ganga, Indus, Brahmaputra plains in India, and Yangtze plain in China. These are the examples of plains. Yangtze plain in China, Ganga, Indus and Brahmaputra plain in India. So these are the important features of plains. Which are they? They are mostly formed by the river deposits. Plains are generally fertile. It is suitable for agriculture, and they are thickly populated. Population is very high. Then they have a dense network of road and railways. Very good transport facilities are here. Then agriculture is the main occupation of the plain. These are the important features of plains. Next we are going to learn how are plains formed. Formation of plains. So rivers and their tributaries bring silt and deposit it in low-lying areas and form plains. How plains are formed? Rivers and their tributaries. What is meant by tributaries? A river or stream flowing into a large river is known as tributaries. A river or stream flowing into a large river is known as tributaries. So rivers and their tributaries bring silt. Silt means sand, soil, mud, etc. that is carried by running water or flowing water is known as silt. Sand, soil, mud, etc. that is carried by flowing water or running water is known as silt. And rivers and their tributaries bring silt and it deposit in a low-lying areas and form plains. So how plains are formed? Rivers and their tributaries bring silt and deposit it in low-lying areas and form plains. So rivers flow down mountain slopes and erode them. Rivers flow down mountain slopes and erode them. Erode means spoil or destroy by slowly destroying the mountain slopes. And they carry them forward and they deposit their load of stones, sand and silt along their courses and in their valleys. So they deposit their load of stones, sand and silt along their courses and in their valleys. These deposits turn into plain In shortly we can say that rivers and their tributaries bring silt and deposit it in a low-lying areas and form plains. How this process happen? Rivers flow down mountain slopes and erode them. They destroy the mountain slopes slowly. And these rivers Rivers flow down mountain slopes and erode them slowly, destroy them slowly. And these rivers carry them forward. These rivers carry the silt forward. And they deposit their load of stones, sand and silt along their courses and in valleys. And these deposits turn into plains. How the plains are formed. Then why are the river plains thickly populated? Why are the river plains thickly populated? Why we can see more population in the river valleys? Because plains are fertile. Plains are fertile. And agriculture is the main occupation of the people. And it can sustain a large population easily. So agriculture is the main occupation of the people of plain. And these plains are fertile ones, suitable for agriculture. Then means of transport are easy to be constructed. Means of transport, road, railway, etc. It is easy for construction. Means of transport are easy to be constructed. Then ideal for human habitation due to flat land. Due to the flat land, it is suitable for human habitation. Habitation means the act of living in a place. The act of living in a place is known as habitation. So, it is suitable for human habitation due to flat land. That's why plains are thickly populated. So, why river plains thickly populated? Why are river plains thickly populated? Because plains are fertile. It is suitable for agriculture. Then means of transport are easy to be constructed. Then it is suitable for human habitation due to the flat land. These are the reasons for river plains are thickly populated. So next is landforms and people. Landforms and people. The relationship between landforms and people. So people live in different landforms in different ways. People live on different landforms in different ways. Life is difficult in mountains. Life is difficult in mountains. Why? That already we studied. Because of the harsh climate, less land available for farming, very few employment opportunities and less developed means of transport, undulating topography. These are the reasons for mountains are thinly populated. Life is difficult in mountains. And the plains are major attractions for people. Plains are major attractions for people. That already we studied. So many reasons are there. Plains are major attraction for people. Then in plains it is easy to build houses, construct roads, raise crops. It is very easy to the people in plains. It is easy to build houses. It is easy to construct houses and roads and raise crops. In mountains, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, etc. cause high damage to life and property. So in mountains, earthquake, volcanic eruptions and natural calamities are cause high damage to the life and property. That's why compared to mountains, plains are thickly populated. Then some people misuse landform. Some people misuse landform. And they use land as waste like constructing house on fertile land. They use land as waste like constructing house on fertile land. And they throw garbage on land and in water, making them polluted. Some people throw garbage, waste material on land and in water and making them polluted. And we have special duty to save landforms for future generation. So we have the duty, we have special duty to save our landforms for future generations. So I hope that the chapter is clear. All of you read the chapter several times and complete the notes and study it. Thank you.